Would you believe that this prosthetic leg right in front of you can cost up to $8,000? From the texture of the skin to the placement of leg hair and even the curve of the toenails, it's an almost perfect copy. Today, we're going to take a closer look at how this incredible piece of craftsmanship comes to life, step by step. The process starts with a customer who has lost his leg. He arrives at this top-tier prosthetic company, where an experienced technician welcomes him. The first task is to capture every measurement and detail of the client's remaining leg. Precision here is everything. The technician begins by fitting a gray receptor sleeve. This ensures the prosthetic will align perfectly with the body. Next, he wraps the entire leg tightly in plastic wrap, capturing every contour and curve. Then, with a red marker in hand, he carefully marks key bone junctions and pressure points. These circles aren't random. They highlight critical areas that will affect the comfort and functionality of the prosthetic. Once the markings are complete, it's time for a series of exact measurements. Not even a millimeter can be off. With all the data collected, we move to the most traditional and vital step: plaster molding. The technician layers wet plaster bandages around the leg, feeling much like a cast being applied. To avoid confusion later, he writes LT on the bandage to indicate the left leg. This attention to detail, even in small things, is remarkable. As the plaster begins to harden slightly, the technician carefully cuts it with special scissors. And just like that, a perfect mold is formed. After that, the foot is molded as well. For the foot, he uses a silicone-like material that flows easily and captures every tiny texture of the skin. Seeing it set in this color and texture, it almost looks like mango pudding or melted cheese. It's no wonder people sometimes say it looks like chocolate. Once it solidifies, a gentle pull reveals a flawless foot mold, complete with even the tiniest calluses on the sole. With the molds ready, the plaster cast can begin. A layer of release agent is first applied to the inner walls of the mold to prevent sticking. Then, high-strength plaster is poured evenly into both molds, almost like cake batter. But it's not just pouring. The technician carefully shakes the molds to remove any air bubbles, ensuring perfect accuracy. Watching this technique is almost like watching a Michelin chef whip cream to perfection. Once the plaster is fully set, it's time for the reveal. The master uses a knife to carefully open the mold, revealing a perfect plaster replica of the leg and foot. It's like sculpting a modern masterpiece. But this is only the beginning. Next comes the fine-tuning phase, where skill and patience are crucial. Using the earlier markings as a guide, the technician repeatedly polishes and refines the plaster model with specialized tools. This process is meticulous, demanding extreme patience and precise spatial awareness. Every scrape and shave is done with comfort in mind. Not only must the surface be smoothed, but volume must also be adjusted in specific areas based on pressure analysis. This is where deep anatomical knowledge comes into play. After shaping and polishing, the model is wiped down with a wet cloth, almost like giving it a spa treatment. Honestly, this plaster gets treated better than most of us treat our own faces. Finally, a white liquid is carefully applied and spread evenly over the surface of the leg, smoothing it out to perfection. Once perfectly smooth, the plaster leg is sent into a specialized oven to dry and set. It almost feels like putting a breadstick into the oven, but the result is far more impressive. Now the plaster leg cast is complete and flawless, but it's still just a mold. The next step is the most critical part of the prosthetic: the socket. The technician wraps the plaster leg in a special plastic, secures it tightly with thread, and removes all the air to create a vacuum seal. Then, a heated and softened plastic sheet is pressed onto the plaster leg like a fitted cover. Under the vacuum's pressure, the plastic molds perfectly to the shape, forming a transparent test socket. This clear test socket lets the technician see exactly how it fits the customer and make adjustments to improve contact between the skin and the prosthetic before moving forward. Once the test socket is approved, it's time for the final version: the carbon fiber socket. This is the same material used in supercars. Watch as the technician carefully layers carbon fiber cloth and special fibers around the plaster leg, like a 1,000-layer cake. It also incorporates metal threaded joints for connecting other components. It's a perfect blend of function and strength. Next, carbon fiber resin is applied, and the entire piece is vacuum sealed to make sure every fiber is fully soaked. After curing, what comes out is a lightweight, yet extremely strong carbon fiber socket. Now comes the demolding and grinding phase, a true test of craftsmanship. First, excess material is trimmed with a cutting tool. Then, like a careful archaeologist, The technician gently breaks apart the plaster inside, piece by piece, until it is fully removed. It looks delicate, almost as precise as cleaning your ears with a tiny tool. With the inside cleared, grinding tools smooth the edges to prevent any irritation on the skin. This process takes time and patience. If you didn't know better, you might think they were customizing a racing exhaust pipe. The core socket is now ready. Next is assembly. The carbon fiber rod and the high-tech prosthetic foot are connected. Every screw is tightened with a torque wrench to exact measurements, ensuring safety and reliability. After assembly, a sock and a shoe are fitted, and the first test begins. The technician helps the customer put on the new prosthetic. This moment is deeply meaningful. Guided by the technician, the customer slowly stands and begins training between parallel bars. From careful steps to more confident strides, each movement is filled with both challenge and hope. Training then moves to slopes and stairs, simple actions in daily life, yet lessons that must be learned again. Seeing him walk outdoors once more is truly remarkable. It proves how technology can change lives. But this is only halfway. The function is complete, but the outer appearance hasn't even begun. Now comes the high-tech phase. A 3D scanner is brought out, capturing the healthy leg from every angle. On the screen, a real-time 3D copy of the leg appears. Every inch of skin and every muscle curve is captured with incredible precision. Using this data, the designer digitally mirrors the healthy leg to create a perfectly balanced shape. This method is far more accurate than traditional plaster casting. With a digital stylus, every small detail is adjusted until everything looks just right. Once the leg shape is finalized, it's time to create the cosmetic skin covering. A piece of color-matched silicone is fed into a machine, repeatedly flattened and stretched, preparing it to wrap smoothly around the prosthetic. Next, the prepared silicone skin is carefully wrapped around the pre-made carbon fiber frame. Using a specialized tool, the technician smoothly blends the silicone at every seam so the joints completely disappear. The precision here is incredible, almost like the steady hands of a skilled surgeon. Around the toes, even smaller and more delicate tools are used to smooth every tiny detail. Once the outer layer is finished, the entire silicone leg covering is placed into a transparent chamber for a second molding phase. More liquid silicone is injected, the lid is closed, pressure is applied, and it is sent back into the oven. After some time, when he opens it, a remarkably lifelike silicone foot skin is revealed. But for those who love details, the real artistry is just beginning. The toenails. Yes, each toenail is made separately. The technician carefully grinds every nail to the perfect shape and thickness, shaping each one with patience and care. If this were a nail salon, it would easily be considered a luxury service. Then, a highly skilled technician carefully attaches each nail to the toes of the silicone skin. Her focus and steady hands show true craftsmanship. After placing them, she uses fine tools to refine the edges, making sure there are absolutely no flaws. And just when you think the detailing is complete, here comes hair implantation. Not head hair, but leg hair. She carefully cuts and inserts it into the silicone skin, one strand at a time using tweezers. Each strand is placed at a natural angle to match real hair growth. My own hair has never received this kind of attention. This is no longer simple manufacturing. It feels like creating something alive. After hours of careful work, a naturally dense and realistic-looking leg is finally complete. The result is truly astonishing, but the process still isn't finished. Now comes the color application stage. The technician carefully mixes a custom shade to perfectly match the client's skin tone. Using an airbrush, multiple thin layers are applied, starting from the deeper base tone to soft highlights, and even small freckles and age spots. Every tiny detail is recreated by hand. The technique easily rivals professional makeup artists. After airbrushing, setting powder is gently applied with brushes to create a natural and refined skin texture. At this point, it almost feels like this workshop could be a Hollywood special effects studio. The fully finished leg goes back into the oven for exactly 7 minutes. This allows the pigments to bond properly with the silicone. After this, the extra powder is rinsed away with water, and the leg is dried using an air gun. Not a single step in this detailed process is skipped. Finally, the cosmetic covering, complete with skin texture, nails, and leg hair, is ready. The last step is fitting the silicone skin onto the carbon fiber frame. Specialized tape securely joins the two parts, and final touch-ups are done to make the connection completely seamless. Even subtle veins and tiny skin spots are carefully added. This is no longer just attention to detail. It is the pursuit of perfection. After countless careful steps, this $8,000 prosthetic leg is finally complete and ready for its new owner. The client returns for the fitting. Even the shade of the toenail polish is adjusted to perfectly match his other foot. The dedication to such tiny details is deeply moving. When the client puts on this leg, stands up and begins to walk, the confidence on his face says everything. This $8,000 is not just the price of a walking tool. It is dignity. It is hope. It is the chance to live normally again. This is not just craftsmanship. It is the beautiful combination of technology and art, working together to change a life.